Well, welcome back to Pinder's Garage. We finally get to do a truck. Now this has been kind of a long time coming. I've actually owned this truck for a little while now and just have not had time to do any filming with it. I've been a pretty busy guy here recently, and so I'm happy to be getting back into doing some revivals and building some cool stuff that's not just common traffic. Now, this one here is a 1983 Chevy K20. Meaning that it's a 3/4 ton pickup truck and it is a 4-wheel drive. Now this one is a little bit personal for me, as it's sort of taken me back to my very first truck. I've had quite a few square bodies over the years, and my very first full-size pickup truck was a 1987 K10.
Hey, don't you mean V10? Don't you know in 1987 they changed it?
And it was very similar to this one. Not a whole lot of differences. The 81 to 87 square bodies kind of were very much the same, other than slightly different grills and a few changes along the way, but overall they're pretty close. I'm hoping when it's all done, this is actually going to replace my current truck, which many of you have probably seen in the videos. It's a 1971 C10, meaning that it's a 2-wheel drive and it's a half-ton. And it does a good job at the majority of what I do, but there's been a few cases recently where I've needed a truck that had a little bit more grunt. That's where this thing comes in. I wanted to go with a 3/4 ton over a 1 ton because I do use my truck, well, a good portion of the time. There's not a trailer hooked up to my truck, so I wanted it to somewhat ride halfway decent whenever I'm just hauling around golf carts and lawnmowers and stuff in the bed, and I've driven 1-ton trucks before and I just wasn't feeling it. Biggest thing's just the spring rate on a 1-ton is pretty harsh, so this is going to be a little bit easier on the back, and well, I might actually have people want to ride with me in it now and again. This truck actually in more recent years has been a mud racing truck. I don't think it did that super long, being that it's not absolutely destroyed, but there's quite a bit of mud caked up underneath it, so I definitely believe the guy when he tells me that's what it was doing in recent years. That being said, he did say that it has been not running for a couple of years now, and I believe him when he says that too. I got it for a pretty good bargain, I think. I'll go ahead and tell you guys what I paid for it, just out of transparency. I paid $3,500 for it. And if you'd told me 10 years ago that I would pay $3,500 for a non-running square body, I'd tell you that you're crazy. But nowadays, times have changed, and I still see the value in them, as otherwise, well, I wouldn't have paid that for this if I didn't think it was worth it. It is a 3/4 ton, which to me does add quite a bit of value, but what really adds a lot of value is what's under the hood. And right here you'll see what it's all about. That right there is a Chevy Big Block 454. It's the first big block on the channel as well, so lots of firsts here. It's not my go-to, but this is the situation where I really do think a big block shines. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why I would want to have a big block, lots of low-end torque, and bragging rights, let's be honest. It's a big old honking engine. I can run this thing at just about any RPM except for the one where it blows up, and it's going to take a good amount of abuse. It does take up more space. It is a very heavy engine, but in this particular situation it's what I wanted, so I'm very happy that it already has a 454 in it. Few things I can already see that I'm going to want to change out and do differently, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Everything seems to fit pretty well, and it looks like whoever put this in here did a halfway decent job at it. But there's definitely some improvements to be had. I also like that it's got vacuum assisted brakes. I didn't want a hydro boost truck. It's just a personal preference is all it is. 1-ton trucks are kind of harder to come by with a vacuum booster. They're usually hydro boost. Another reason why I wanted to go with a 3/4 ton over a 1-ton. This is a very, very nice combination. It is a factory air conditioning truck, which was a big thing for me. I wanted to find a truck that had that. That way I didn't have to do a lot of modification to get air conditioning. This one still has the condenser up here. We're missing some hoses and hard lines. I think we might be missing a little bit of wiring. Obviously we're missing the compressor, but the biggest thing is that the cab of the truck is an AC cab, meaning all the vents are there, the switches. That saves me a lot of work to get air conditioning in this truck. And I'm at that point in my life now that I do like having air conditioning. It's at least nice to have it as an option whenever it's super hot. Otherwise, none of your buddies will really want to go cruising with you, is what I've found. So let's move to the cab of the truck and show you what I've opted for in there. Pretty standard stuff for 1983 as far as the interior goes, so yeah, nothing crazy in here. The biggest thing to really show in here is what I've gone for with transmission. This is a SM465 4-speed granny low transmission. Arguably one of the toughest transmissions ever put into a light or medium duty pickup truck. It's pretty rugged and pretty, well, truck-like. You're not going to be winning any drag races with this thing, but if you know how to drive it, it can do just about anything. So you got a really, really wide ratio from first all the way to fourth or third, however you want to look at it. So you got your low gear, first gear, second gear, third gear, or if you're a normal person, you'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, but whatever. So first gear is a compound gear. It's like 6.5 to 1, super duper low first gear, crawling gear, grainy gear, whatever you want to call it. And most of the time you're not going to use it, but if you got a super duper heavy load, you'll want to use low. And well, second gear, or first gear, however you want to look at it, is also pretty low. It's like 3 point something to 1. And of course, the high gear is 1 to 1, no overdrive, like most stuff was. Obviously, we do got a stick here for your transfer case. No push button electronic mumbo jumbo here. Pretty simple. You just move that lever to whatever you want, and most of the time it works. Yep, that's it in here. One other thing that I was looking for that this truck also already has is the fully floating 14-bolt rear end. This one currently has an open differential with 373 gears. This gear ratio works great paired with the granny low non-overdrive transmission and the almost 33-inch tall tires currently on the truck. It does have a earlier model bed on it. There is no filler neck on this side of the bed, even though the gas tank is on this side, so they got a filler neck in the bed there. We do have the earlier tailgate, and then we got this faux filler here that's just covering up the hole because there is no tank on this side. It's got the sliding back window, which I love, and I do prefer this style of mirror. So this truck ticks a lot of boxes for me. You can see the remnants of the original paint here, which was sort of like a coppery looking brown orange copper type color. I think on the top somewhere, oh there it is. So we had like a cream or tan top on it that you can just barely see poking out through there. The front end has also been swapped out. I believe this front end is probably off of 85 to 87. You can see the white paint here, indicating this was pulled off a different truck. Same thing, you can see the white here and the white right there on the fender. So all this was white. Not a huge fan of the wheels, but they're kind of growing on me. My biggest thing is I don't love the fake beadlock looking thing up here. Not my favorite, but I'll probably end up running them because they look like a pretty solid wheel. Now, one thing I will point out about this is that I am saying it is a 3/4 ton, and it is. But there are two different 3/4 tons. There's a light duty and a heavy duty 3/4 ton. The number one difference between the two is going to be the frame. On a light duty 3/4 ton, your frame is pretty much a 1/2 ton frame. Almost all the specifications of it are the same as a 1/2 ton. It's not really a bad thing, it's just something to keep in mind. Now, I'm planning on doing a lot with this truck, and I tried finding a 3/4 ton heavy duty, and I just couldn't come up with one. And the ones I was finding just were missing some of the other features that I really wanted to have, so that's why I bought this one. Well, that and because this one was cheaper, and it was 2 blocks away, so you know, can't beat that. And all the 1/2 tons I've had in the past, I do find that they do twist quite a bit. Anyone who's had a square body will tell you, I mean, goodness, they twist a ton. So not the end of the world. I mean, it's not going to come apart or anything like that, but I do want it to be a little bit more rigid. That way I'm actually using the suspension and not the twisting of the frame whenever going over bumps and things like that. So when we get this truck all blown apart into pieces, after I've driven it for a while, of course, and kind of figured out what I want to do with it, we'll probably box the frame in. Now, that being said, you're already getting a better frame if you go with a four-wheel drive truck over a two-wheel drive. Now, granted, I'm talking strictly about square bodies here. So if you had a two-wheel drive half-ton or a four-wheel drive half-ton, your four-wheel drive frame is going to be a decent bit beefier than your two-wheel drive. So you already got that going for you. And then shocks. That's like really the only other main difference between the light-duty 3/4 ton and the heavy-duty 3/4 ton. They may even have slightly different springs in the rear. I don't know. After cranking on this thing for a good long while, getting it to start just fine, running off of, pouring gasoline down the vent tube, it runs fine, starts right up, but as soon as the bowl is empty, it shuts off. So we're not getting any fuel up to the carburetor. So I know the gas gauge doesn't work on this thing. Right now I've got a little electric pump hooked up to the inlet for the carburetor. I'm gonna go ahead and run it for a second and see if we can pick up any fuel out of the tank and see what it looks like. I'm gonna say we're not picking up anything. It may very well be that the fuel level is just below the pickup tubes. I think what I'm going to do first, before I go adding fuel to it, is go ahead and try and siphon out using a hose in this system and stick the hose as far down in the tank as I can and try and get any of the nastiness off the bottom, because this has been stored for a couple years. Get out what we can, top it off with fresh fuel. From there, I should be able to get this thing to run off the tank, assuming what's in the tank isn't too nasty. Alright, I got my hose here. Stick it down in there. Kind of move it around. Get it to hit the bottom. Okay, we definitely hit the bottom. Pull back out. Okay, this thing is completely dry and very dirty. That's fun. Okay. So let's put some gas in it and just kind of see what kind of nastiness we can get to come out the other end. Hey, there we go. It's a little bit brown. Not too bad though. It's clear enough. Alright, that's good. Okay. I'm okay with that. I probably won't be keeping this Holly on here anyways, so when it gets all jam-packed full of dirt, then we'll replace it. So, here you go. Can you see that? It looks worse on camera than it really is, There you go. It's okay. Not too bad. I'm not really knocking on Holley carburetors in general. I just don't much care for this here particular line of Holley. They're not really a bad carburetor. Just don't like them. Let's run that. Let it fill up the carburetor. Okay, there we go. Sounds like the gentleman's seat is closed. Alright, we have good accelerator pumpage. Go ahead and start it. Try again. Power steering fluid's empty. Rev it up, see if the tack works. Belt slipping. I think it is working now. Oh. You gonna start it? As you guys could probably hear in the video, power steering belt is slipping a lot, and it's making quite a lot of racket. Basically have no power steering, it's so bad. So the belt's pretty loose, and I see here that the way this is mounted looks to me like we have a small block bracket set up. It's also offset way too far, so I'll go ahead and yank this out of here, and I've got some big block power steering brackets. What am I doing that for? I've got ratchet wrenches. Belt out here. I'd be very surprised if that belt length ends up working. Looks like the pump got a little beat up right there. Oh well. I already tried to clean this up a little bit, but as you can see, it didn't get very far. Okay, let's see if this pulley's pretty straight. And it is. We got quite a bit of mud stuck in here, so before I go pulling this off, I'll try to get as much of that out of there as I can. There we go. Take my tool. There we go. And just like that. Pulley's off. Pump seal is in awesome shape, so that's good. Oh, this pump was actually replaced not too long ago. It looks like they replaced the pump and reused the reservoir, which that's fine. Anyway, We'll zip these out of here. Bye-bye, bracket. Reservoir has definitely seen better days, but it doesn't really look like it's leaking. May as well reuse, eh? With this kit, there are instructions. I guess I could look at those. This bracket here goes, whoop, just like that, maybe? Let's see. See what the instructions say here. So, 3/4 inch bolt over here, 1 inch bolt over there, 0.360 spacer. For now, I'm just test fitting. I'll probably put some Loctite on these. Maybe some washers, maybe not. We'll see how much thread depth we have. Then we take the great big bolt here. Oh yeah, this goes to, hang on. Where does this go? Oh, I got the wrong bolt. This goes on the slide, okay. That goes there. There's another little spacer here, that's for the back. So it goes, little spacer that's left over here goes right there. 3/4 inch goes in the front here. With the bracketry all installed, got my upper bracket, pretty simple. Just got 2 bolts here, bolts that bad boy on. This bracket here will go to the bottom of the engine block, and got these 2 big spacers there. And you've got 2 of these spacers here that'll go right to there. This big bolt here, that's what's going to be on the little slider deal that goes into the water pump. If you guys are wondering where I got these brackets from, these came from eBay. Pretty cheap, about $40. If you like this kit but you want it in chrome, they had the exact same kit in chrome. Same price, 40 bucks. I'm just not much of a chrome guy myself. I like it, looks good. Take my tool, there it is. Gonna pull this little dude back out. Don't need him no more. Now, I'll have a washer and a bearing. Stick those on the end there. Thread this guy in. Now you're supposed to hold this good and tight with a wrench. I found a lot of times they're so tight though, getting the pulley on, that you just gotta go straight to an impact on that. You'll see. Well, actually, no, you won't see, because I'm not going to show you the alternative. I'm just going to go straight to using an impact on it. I'm going to call that a good. That is pretty much flush. We'll see. We'll see how it lines up. Thankfully, this is a V-belt system, and well, they can be off by a little bit. RPM is where V-belts tend to have problems. A lot of times if you rev them very high, they will throw the belt off. We got a big block though, so that shouldn't be a problem. Nah, I'm just kidding. Or am I? Okay. Probably take that stud out since I'm not using it anymore. Oh yeah. Very nasty. Look at all that junk coming out of there. Okay. Double nut this guy. Okay. There we go. Fast forward a little bit, and I have got the pump installed. Hoses are hooked up. Actually replaced one of the hoses because it was pretty bad. And then got my belt put on, so that's done. And power steering works great now. No more belt slippage. Belt lines up perfectly straight, so if you get a big block and you need some power steering brackets, that is a cheap, good kit. It's really not too bad. It's not going to show up too good on camera, but fairly minimal rust. It's pretty beat up, got some pretty big dents in it, but this is not too bad for a square body. Has the very typical rust right here. Almost every square body I've ever had that big old hole right there, but not bad at all. Got some through holes right there, but nah, not sure what this is. Not sure if that's part of the bed. It sure looks like it is. I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me what that is. I can't say any of my trucks have had that, so I don't know. One issue that I have noticed with this truck is that once the engine is hot, it doesn't really want to turn over. Now, thankfully, it's been doing this pretty consistently, so diagnosing it's going to be a lot easier compared to if we had an intermittent issue. Very first thing I do with issues like that is we'll make sure we have good power and good ground at the starter. Starter is grounded through the engine block, so we'll check for a good ground, and we'll make sure we got good power coming out of the solenoid to the actual starter, and we'll kind of go from there. Main thing is, if I've got good power and ground at the starter itself, then I know we need to replace the starter, but we'll see. So as far as the starter operation goes, I noticed a couple of things that were a bit out of the ordinary. So the starter trigger wire comes down, I don't know if you can see it here, but right here in my hand, the starter trigger wire goes to a relay, which I'm having a hard time figuring out why that was. You don't normally need a redundant relay in a situation like this. I don't know, kind of funky. So we're gonna get rid of this and run the trigger wire straight down to the starter solenoid like it would be from the factory, and see if that does anything different. I'm also gonna go ahead and replace the starter just because it looks pretty old and I kind of want to upgrade it. I want to take the starter off to also clean the mounting pad on the engine. I can kind of tell it looks like it's a little dirty and there might be some paint left on the mounting pad, and that's going to make you not have a very good ground to the starter. The relay here also was taped up and was laying down here really close to the exhaust manifold. I could be wrong, but I don't think relays like being, 300, 500 degrees or even higher. So that may have been part of it as well. So yeah, clean all this stuff up. There were also extra wires going down to the main post on the starter, the main big power post, the one that goes straight to the battery. So it had extra ones going to it that I think they were basically using that as a power source. So what we'll do is we'll take those off. One of them I got rid of altogether because it didn't need to be there. And what we'll do is run those to the main junction up there, and then I think one or two of them I will actually run right up here to the alternator post instead. It'll just tidy things up, kind of make it so we have less wiring running around everywhere, and it accomplishes the same thing. So this will be set up a lot more similar to the way a vehicle would have been from the factory, without all the messing around with it people have done. And this is also going to be very similar to how I wired up the Vega that you guys saw me do previously. I figured while I was replacing this starter and cleaning everything up and redoing the wiring, I'd go ahead and do a little upgrade. So this here is a gear reduction starter. This is a OE style one that you would find on, say, a mid-90s small block or big block. This right there is your part number if you guys want the same one. You can also get this in a new starter if you don't want remanufactured. It's really just a smaller footprint and it weighs less. It is for the most part a bolt-on. It does have the exact same bolt pattern and the same insertion depth. Only thing that might be a little bit different would be the eyelet size for your wiring. But it's really a very close bolt-on replacement and there's really no downside to it. And for what it's worth, this big old guy right here is 17 pounds, 11 ounces. And the little guy is 7 pounds, 10 ounces. So it's about 10 pounds lighter. Now, mind you, that is still pretty dirty, but I'm not gonna clean it off, so you can just use your imagination. Now, one thing to know if you're going to do one of these gear reduction starters is you are going to have to get different starter bolts. Now, you do want to get a bolt made for a starter because it'll have this knurled end here. If you don't have that, your starter's going to wiggle around and you don't want that. So, the dimensions on this don't really matter. I'll just give you a part number. That is 678-107. That's going to be a Dorman number. Now you can cross-reference that with whatever brand you want. If you're doing what I'm doing, these are the bolts that you want. Starter is in, all the wiring is tidied up, and yeah, let's say it's ready to start. And at this point, most people would, you know, wash the truck up, get all the nasty mud and stuff out from underneath it, kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb, fix all the little problems and things. So we're going to cut the mufflers off because the 8-year-old in me has got to hear what this big block really sounds like. And it's got a set of turd flow mufflers on it right now, and we can't have that. Oh yeah. Needle and seat keeps getting stuck open. Flooding it out. nice and warm. About 210. Let's see if it starts right up or if we still have a problem. Of course, needle and seat got stuck again. Well, that'll be a good test of the starter. Give it some air. Okay, looks good. Okay, it's really flooded. And let's shut it off. That's probably enough noise for one day in the city. That's one problem fixed. Well, you guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you like the truck, stay tuned for future episodes with it. And as always, thanks for watching.